Ashlee Robinson, better known online as Ashlee Janae, just days after popping the question overseas, her fiancé is now being held in Zanzibar by investigators.
Do you believe that Joe McCann had something to do with your daughter's death?
It's under investigation, and we don't know what went on.
Today, investigators in Tanzania held a news conference where they said they are questioning McCann and they are holding his passport until the autopsy results are complete.
If the Zanzibar Police Department has nothing to hide, then why is evidence disappearing? Ashlee Janae's ring, her phone, both gone, scrubbed from the scene. And her father just told TMZ one word that has been keeping me up all night. He believes Tanzania has her ring. He doesn't know because Tanzania has not told him. Tanzania has put this family in a state of not knowing on purpose. They are under zero obligation to share a single thing with the family, our embassy or the FBI. And if they destroy evidence, there is no recourse. Baby, I'm not convinced this investigation is being handled the way it should, and let me show you why.
Rick, they are desperate for those answers. Now, we did get some new information. We know that authorities in Tanzania have confiscated her fiance's passport.
She FaceTimed me, showed me her ring. She's like, Papa, I'm happy.
First of all, let's start with the ring, because the ring is the doorway into everything else, and I think that's why her family is focusing on it so much. Her father told TMZ he believes Tanzania has it. Read that again, believes. And here's why that word is the most important word in this entire case. He doesn't know, because Tanzania doesn't have to tell him. They don't have to confirm they have the ring. They don't have to confirm it was on her body. They don't have to share the autopsy. They don't have to share the phone. And they don't have to share the footage. They don't have to share anything. Even what they tell the U.S. Embassy, baby, what they choose to tell the U.S. Embassy, that's courtesy. It's not a requirement. And if Tanzania destroys evidence, mishandles the scene, loses the phone, lets the footage overwrite, there's no recourse. None. The U.S. cannot subpoena them. They can't punish them. They can do whatever, Tanzania can do whatever they want with this case, and we have to take it. So when her father says he believes they have the ring, that's not a confused man. That is the only thing he's allowed to say, because nobody made Tanzania tell him otherwise, and nobody can. So let's break it down. Is the ring in police custody? We don't know. Was it on her body? We don't know. Was it missing from the scene before the police arrived? We don't know. Did somebody take it between her death and the moment investigators got there? We don't know. 4 scenarios, 4 completely different stories, not one ruled out, because Tanzania doesn't have to rule any of them out. The ring is not the story. The fact that Tanzania can withhold every answer about the ring and face zero consequences for it, that's the story. And let's talk about the phone, because the phone is even worse. It's sitting in Tanzanian custody. We don't know if it's been forensically imaged, damaged. We don't know if it's even powered on. Modern phones lose evidence every day they sit there. Batteries died, cloud syncs overwrite local files, encryption locks investigators out if nobody has the right tools. And that's if everybody is actually trying to find proof. Let's not forget what the phone holds. The phone holds Ashlee's text. Now, if the phone's backed up, maybe we will have a thing, an image. But let's not forget that Ashlee bragged about Joe being a tech guy. Let's also not forget that a tech guy could have easily talked to her and said, hey baby, don't worry, our phone might get hacked. I'm worth billions. Back up your photos, back up your videos for your work. Yes. But personal conversations like our messages, don't back that up. That's dangerous stuff. Or maybe not. We don't know. We do know that even in the best of times, Tanzania's digital forensics capacity is documented as being limited. Their labs are underfunded. They might not even have what it takes to crack an iPhone. So that phone could be sitting in evidence right now, slowly turning into a brick. While the most important communications in this case, her last text, her location data, her photos from that night, because it doesn't matter whether she backed it up. There's an actual physical log in the phone. That sits aside, at best untouched, at worst destroyed. And the family has no way to verify any of this. They're being asked to trust. But why should they? But here's what nobody's telling them, okay? They don't actually need that phone. Apple has a process. It's a court order, a death certificate, probate paperwork. The family can pull her entire iCloud, text, photos, location pings, notes, deleted messages through a U.S. legal process. However, that doesn't replace what happened on the phone if it was not backed up or right before backed up. Text messages, her asking whoever, why'd you do this to me? Look at my face, right? Photos that she might have kept, sensitive photos showing a history of abuse. It's all there. Again, Tanzania can sit on that phone forever. Now, while the cloud doesn't care, the most recent vital information is that phone. So why isn't it already in motion? Why hasn't the Tanzanian police actually subpoenaed iCloud to get into everything? And let's not even talk about the surveillance footage. That's the part that's on the roll clock. Hotel systems overwrite footage every 30 to 90 days. We've already passed 14 days. If nobody preserves that footage in the last 48 hours, parts of it may already be gone permanently. And every day it sits there is another day for somebody to accidentally delete it. Now, the family's fighting for the footage, but they have zero power to get it. The U.S. has zero power to compel it. The clock keeps running. In any well-run investigation, that footage would have been seized on day one, sealed, copied, locked down. The only thing is, because Zanzibar doesn't have to share anything, we have no confirmation that happened here. The room she died in, it's been cleaned multiple times. Let's not forget they said it was a suicide. By staff who have no reason to know that they may have been cleaning a crime scene. At best, at worst, they knew what they were doing because Tanzania never sealed the crime scene. DNA on the bedding, gone. Fingerprints on the door, gone. Trace evidence on every surface, it's gone. That is not how a serious homicide investigation handles a case. That is how a case gets buried. And let's talk about the autopsy trap. Yeah, it's really great that the parents are doing an autopsy, but here's the part nobody's warning the family about. And this is the part that is literally driving me crazy. An independent U.S. autopsy is coming. Everybody's treating that like it's like, oh, the answer. Like the moment it drops, we know what happened, but we won't. Because even if the autopsy comes back next week and says that it was, somebody did do something to her, it confirms the cause of death, but it doesn't give a suspect, someone to charge. You need DNA from the scene, footage of who entered and exited the room, phone records of her final hours, witness statements locked in, trace evidence from her body, the chain of custody on every single one of those things. And every single one of those things is currently in Tanzanian hands. A government that has not confirmed to the family that any of it has been preserved properly. And if that evidence is compromised, you have a confirmed murder with no path to a suspect. The autopsy is not the finish line, you guys. It's the starting point. And if the evidence isn't preserved by the time it fires, the race is already over. That is a trap. The family is waiting on the autopsy, thinking it's going to save them. But again, it's only going to confirm what was lost. And let me drive this home for any of you guys being like, Tisa, stop, you're doing too much. Tanzania has zero legal duty to share anything, period. And I think people need to sit with what that actually means. Transparency International, a respected international watchdog, ranks Tanzania in the bottom half of the Global Corruption Perception Index. There are documented systematic concerns about police and judicial integrity in that country. Not every officer, Not every case, but it is published international data from credible sources. So when I look at this case, a foreign government with no obligation to share, with documented systematic concerns about its investigative system, corruption, refusing to give a grieving family even basic answers, am I supposed to assume that's good faith? Am I supposed to assume this case is being handled the way it would be in a country with a fully accountable system? I don't think I am, and I don't think we should. Here is how a case like this dies. And you guys brace yourself because it's scary. It doesn't take a movie villain. It just takes the path of least resistance. Closing this case as a suicide is easy. It makes the embassy stop calling. It makes the press go away. It costs nothing. The gravity of an underfunded system that doesn't have to answer to anyone pulls every case toward the easiest disposition. And the easiest disposition? Self-harm. Speaking of which, you guys, who started the suicide story? Where did that story even come from? Because it didn't come from Ashlee. And listen, who started it? It didn't come from her family. Her father said she was a beacon of light with zero signs of wanting to harm herself. So somebody, somewhere, planted that idea. Either Tanzanian police floated it, or a source connected to the case did. Either way, somebody fed that narrative to the press in the first 48 hours before the family had answers, before the autopsy was done, before anything was confirmed. And here is a documented pattern of intimate partner homicide cases. The surviving partner preloads a suicide narrative, tells first responders she was suppressed, tells investigators she was struggling, tells the media she was talking about hurting herself. Why? Because if everyone believes that she was ready to self-harm before the body's examined, the entire investigation tilts that way from minute one. It biases the autopsy. It biases the interviews. It biases the conclusion. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened here. I am saying the question of who started that story is a question that any honest investigator would be asking right now. You find out who started that story, and you might find the whole case. There's also, we got to talk about who done it. Now, let me be careful here. I'm not naming the killer. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm walking you through how real investigators, when a woman is killed, FBI data tells us that the majority of the time, 50 to 60% of cases, it's an intimate partner, a husband, boyfriend, fiance, an ex. That's not an opinion. That is data. Every homicide detective on earth starts with people closest to the victim. So, who was the closest to Ashlee in that hotel? Who was she traveling with? Who was she fighting with? Loud enough that hotel staff had to physically separate them into different rooms hours before she passed away. I mean, the math is the math. Then there's the silence. Joe McCann has barely spoken to the family since her death. Going silent is not proof of anything. I admit that. But lawyers tell people to shut up. Smart advice whether you're guilty or innocent. But there are two kinds of silence. Grief silence stays connected to the family. Quiet publicly, present privately, cooperates with police, helps with the memorial, helps with sending her body home, helps with hiring a team of investigators, interpreters, translators, private investigators, both US-based and Tanzania-based, that speak Swahili that could cost into hundreds of thousands. Legal exposure silence cuts the family off completely, engages with no one, treats them as adversaries. The family says they barely heard from him. You decide which silence that sounds like. And here's what the family needs to be doing today. Not next week, today, because they cannot rely on Tanzania to do any of this for them. A US-based attorney experiencing international wrongful death cases immediately. Sending legal preservation letters within 24 hours. Go to Apple, go to Google, go to Meta, go to the airline, go to the hotel, go to Joe. And anybody connected to him. Once those letters land, destroying evidence is spoliation, and that has real teeth in U.S. civil court. A forensic consultant on the ground in Tanzania or in remote contact with authorities asking the questions a family member can't. Was the room sealed? When? Was the footage seized in the last 48 hours? Has the phone been imaged? Who has the chain of custody? These are the questions Tanzania has not been publicly asking. They should. The pressure on the State Department to engage in FBI's legal attaché, Dar es Salaam. The FBI can sometimes coordinate forensic assistance with forensic authorities, but only if they're activated. A probate court order. You need that to start pulling Ashlee's iCloud, Google account, and social media data through a U.S. legal process right now. That data may include every text she sent in her final hours, every photo, every location ping, every note she wrote. The truth of her last days is sitting on U.S. servers, waiting for a court order. The family doesn't need Tanzania for that. They need a probate judge. Every day they wait on Tanzania is a day evidence walks out the door. They don't have to wait. Somebody needs to be telling them that loudly before it's too late. And here's what I need you to understand, okay? There's a Natalie Holloway factor, or as I like to call it, a Natalie Holloway diagnosis. Here's what I need you to understand about the Natalie Holloway case. Because everybody uses her case as a warning, and that is not what it is. Natalie's case did not go cold in 2025. It did not go cold in 2015. It went cold in the first 72 hours of 2005 when she passed away, when the evidence was not preserved, when the scene was not processed, when the witnesses were not pinned down. Everything in the 20 years around this has just been a confirmation of what was already lost in 3 days. Beth Holloway did not lose her daughter's case in court. She lost it before the case was ever opened, because by the time anyone in the U.S. cared, the evidence was already gone in a country that did not have to give it up. Now, look at Ashlee. Tanzania, day 14, family blind, evidence on a clock, footage running out, phone uncertain, body already autopsied to unknown standards, in a country with no obligation to share, and a documented track record. We should not be worried. They have every single ingredient. This is not a future warning. This is a present tense diagnosis. Ashlee Janae's case is going cold right now in real time. And unless somebody, anybody, steps in this week, we are going to spend the next 20 years exactly where the Holloway family has spent the last 20. So, 3 things we can do. Keep her name loud. Public pressure is the only thing that gets cases like this outsourced. Boost the family's GoFundMe. Investigations cost money. Attorneys cost money. The family did not budget for any of this. They believed in the system. They had faith. Being good, law-abiding, God-fearing people, they should not be punished on having faith in the system that they're just finding out doesn't care about them and has a reason to keep quiet. And also share this video. Every share is more pressure on the system that has to answer to the audience. Ashlee deserved to come home alive. She didn't. At the least we can do is refuse to let her case die quietly while the evidence walks out the door. You guys, follow for the next update. Send this one to the person who needs to see it. That's it. I'll talk soon.